Peter, for the audience that doesn't know you, I started off with Morgan Stanley, Dean Witter, my background, and I know your background, I think it was with Lehman's in the 90s. Take a minute or two and share a little bit about your background and how you got into the financial industry.
Well, I pretty much have been in it all my life. Ever since I got out of college, I went to UC Berkeley in the 1980s, and my first job was actually in commodities and commodity options. I didn't stay in that too long because, too many people were losing money. It's very difficult to make money in options. And so I got a job at Shearson Lehman American Express, and I was working for a division of the company that, was called Lehman Brothers. I think, because Shearson had bought Lehman, and then American Express ultimately bought them, But I was there, and I wasn't too happy in that environment either. I was kind of like a square peg in a round hole. And so I decided to start my own broker-dealer. And I did that in the early to mid-1990s. And I bought a company. Basically, it was just a shell company. It didn't really have any customers, but it was a nickel BD, $5,000 broker dealer. With at the time it wasn't even FINRA. It was the NASD. It was before they switched over to FINRA. So I bought that BD, renamed it Euro Pacific Capital, and I built it up over the years. And I worked there ever since. I actually sold the BD a few years ago, part of my move to Puerto Rico. And my two main businesses now are Euro Pacific Asset Management. And Euro Pacific Asset Management isn't a broker-dealer. We're a registered investment advisor. So we manage money. I manage portfolios on a fee-only basis, not on a commission basis. And I also run a family of mutual funds, the Euro Pacific funds, which you could buy directly from us at the website europac.com, or you can buy my funds no load at any discount broker. I have a emerging market fund, a gold fund, a foreign dividend payers fund, a foreign value fund, and a foreign bond fund. And then another business I started in about 2011-12 is Schiff Gold. I actually started it as Euro Pacific Precious Metals. It became Schiff Gold. About 5 or 6 years ago, I sold the company to Gold Money, and I just recently bought it back. And Gold Money also, the guy that runs Gold Money also started Monet, which is where I got all this gold jewelry. So that's how I got involved with Monet. But I love their jewelry. In fact, my wife has a lot more of it than I do. But I bought Gold Money. I bought Schiff Gold back. So now I have Schiff Gold and I have Euro Pacific Asset Management are my two main businesses. I had a bank for about 10 years. That's a whole nother story. The government basically took it away from me as a result of the media falsely accusing it of, they accused me of using my bank to help organized criminals launder money and evade taxes. I sued the media company in Australia for defamation, and I won a judgment there. It turned out that not only did they have no evidence that any criminals used my bank, in fact, they couldn't name one. We asked them in court, can you name one person that has even used the bank to evade taxes, let alone launder money or commit crimes? They didn't have a single customer.
Who was behind it? Who was behind it?
I don't know. I think it was a political smear. They
was it close to when you ran or no?
No. This is a few years ago. I think the Australian government was trying to get more regulations, more AML regulations on Australian companies, and so they tried to pretend that all these Australian companies that were doing business with me were doing business with a shady company. But I didn't do anything shady. We did everything by the books. My bank had 65 employees. 30 of them were in compliance. I only had one person in marketing. And in fact, when we sued the company and I got all their evidence from discovery, what they didn't destroy, I found out that they actually misrepresented or outright lied about everything they had. Every former employee they talked to, every customer, every referral agent, everybody said that my bank had the strictest compliance of any bank they knew, that we asked so many questions that other banks didn't ask, that it took 4 to 6 weeks to open up an account. So they had all this information, yet they lied to their audience. They lied in print and pretended that my bank didn't do any due diligence, that we were just waving through criminals. They accused me of having all these criminals as customers. We didn't have any of those criminals as customers. The whole story was made up by the media. What really bothers me is that one of the reporters is Charlotte Grieve. She won a award for Best Journalist of the Year for the 60 Minutes broadcast that was removed for the internet because it was defamatory.
Get out of here.
And they won't retract the award. And, you know, this is interesting. After I won the lawsuit, the media company found out that I was going to put up the unedited interview that they did with me for 60 Minutes because it took me 2 years to get it. They wouldn't give it to me. I had to get it in the trial through discovery. And so they went to court to get an injunction to prevent me from publicizing the unedited interview because they only wanted people to see the way they edited it to make me look guilty when the actual interview showed I was innocent. So they went to court and they tried to stop me. And they told the judge that the public has no right to know the inner workings of a broadcaster. And they ended up withdrawing their case, and I won because the judge said, do you really want me to rule? Because it could be very embarrassing to your journalists and harm their careers if you forced me to rule. And I wish he would have ruled. They ended up dropping it. But look, the whole, it's called Nine Entertainment in Australia. And nothing they do, I'm sure that what happened with me is typical. It's all fake news. You can't believe anything. This guy, Nick McKenzie, is considered, you know, the greatest journalist in Australia. He's a complete fraud. And, you know, Wikipedia, when I sued and I won this judgment, the Wikipedia editors won't even allow it on his page.
This guy?
The media, yeah, that guy. The media is whitewashing his reputation. He's an outright liar. And, you know, when they did the interview, too, right, they contacted me and they said, hey, we want to interview you about gold and inflation and the economy. And I agreed to the interview. And the minute I sat down, they're asking me about my bank. And they're making false accusations about my bank and all these criminals who supposedly have accounts. And I'm like, you know, so they entrapped me. They induced me by fraud. And then they edited the whole thing. And the article, which a judge ruled the article wasn't defamatory. They had an article in The Age. And then the New York Times wrote a story follow-up. But they had an article in The Age and the 60 Minutes broadcast. And the judge said the broadcast was defamatory, but the article was not. That was a bad ruling. I didn't appeal it because I ended up winning a judgment against The Age anyway. I'm going to sue them again for injurious falsehood. But there's at least 40 to 50 false statements in that article. Maybe they're not defamatory, but they were lies. And, you know, what was so frustrating is for 2 years, they pretended that they can prove their allegations were true, despite the fact that they knew they were false. I actually won 7 consecutive judgments in a row. They kept coming up with these BS defenses, and then the judge kept throwing them out and ordering them to pay my costs. I mean, they just dragged it out.
I followed the story. I think they ended up paying you $360, a third of what you used for legal fees. But I want to get into issues.
But I lost the bank. Yeah. My bank was worth tens of millions of dollars. I got nothing.
That's the part about some of the things.
Here's the worst part. They took over my bank. It was a 100% reserve bank. We had no debt, no loans. I had millions of dollars in cash above what the deposits were. They took over the bank 21 months ago, almost 22 months ago. And over that period of time, nobody has gotten their money out. Not a single person. One of the customers just killed himself because he's of the financial condition he's in because he hasn't been able to get his money. Meanwhile, in the year before the government took over my bank, 75% of the customers got their money back. I sent that back over $200 million, no problem. I mean, no other bank could have withstood that kind of run, but we were a 100% reserve bank, so I was able to do it. But nobody would have yanked their money out of there if it wasn't for all these false allegations. And the minute the allegations came out, I lost my deal with American Express, that I had to issue cards all around the world. I just got that. I lost a lot of important corresponding banking relationships. I lost my account with the Federal Reserve. I mean, one domino after another because people were afraid to do business with me